to Boys and Girls Club's virtual career day. We have Anna, and he is going to take us through our closing session.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your sessions as much as I did. Thanks again to all of our participating partners during the breakout sessions today. We had Old Navy in the house, National Retail Federation Foundation, Thermo Fisher Scientific, the Coca-Cola Company, Toyota, Bridgestone, the Cleveland Browns were in the house, AmerisourceBergen, Major League Baseball, Citi Foundation, and Bank of America. Next, we'll be talking about one of my personal passions, entrepreneurship. We've talked a lot during the panel and breakout rooms about certain paths that people went on to get their current jobs. However, there's also another path that you could take, and that is working for yourself and creating your own opportunities and building your own company. I know that seems like something that is very far and distant. However, I'm here to tell you it's really not. It's just a different path, especially in the beginning. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I am the founder of Didomi, a social enterprise that provides 10 years of clean, safe water for a person for every water bottle that someone purchases. We work with nonprofit partners to build wells and provide people around the world with water access. And all our water projects are funded through the sale of reusable water bottles. Individuals can purchase water bottles from our site or work with companies to encourage them to buy these bottles for their employees so that we can make an even bigger impact. And I pursued entrepreneurship because, for one, like most entrepreneurs, I didn't want to work for anyone. And two, I always was a really, really curious person growing up. And so I wanted to tackle some of the issues that were important to my experience that I went through personally. I actually went through the water crisis myself growing up, and I saw how the water crisis affected people around the world. So I turned to entrepreneurship to do something about that. That's my experience with entrepreneurship. Next, I have a really special guest that I want to have this conversation about entrepreneurship with. I want to welcome Rafael Elishayev, the co-CEO and founder of GoPuff, a digital delivery company, to discuss entrepreneurship. Rafael, welcome.
Anna, so nice for you guys to have me. Great chatting, and excited to have this convo.
Yeah, and I know entrepreneurs are very, very busy people, so we're very thankful for your time. So before we even begin, I want to do a quick check-in with you. How are you doing? I assume GoPuff has been extremely busy right now, especially with everyone locked down at home. How is the digital nomad life treating you?
Yeah, it's I got to tell you, it's a brave new world out there, right? The pandemic has definitely shifted business in a very, very positive direction for us. While it's been tough for many people out there, GoPuff has been trying to fill in the banks and really deliver to our customers in the best way possible. We've been busy at work. We're opening up 20 warehouses a month all over the country, trying to service more and more customers and deliver the best experience that we can.
Yeah, that's exciting. That must be really, really exciting. So we had a career panel with a few great guests from esteemed companies. And now I want to transition to an alternative path, right? And that's entrepreneurship. You're an entrepreneur yourself. So can you tell me what exactly is entrepreneurship?
Yeah, man, it's a loaded question, because I think people think an entrepreneur is simply someone that starts a business. An entrepreneur is a way of life. Entrepreneurship is a way of life. It's a part of how I grew up. I came to this country as a kid with my parents. All we knew was hard work. And, from us, it's developing that same work ethic at any point in life, as a kid, as a young adult, as a full grown adult, and really utilizing that work ethic to kind of achieve a means. In my case, it was starting a business, starting it from scratch, and then growing it to the company that is today. But it really, really is all about work ethic, your relationship with others, and ultimately where you want to position yourself in life.
Right. Sounds like it's really about being resourceful and using what you have around you to build something with it. So that company you talked about that you made is GoPuff. Can you tell us a little bit about GoPuff? What does your company do?
Absolutely. So 7 years ago, now almost 8 years, we had this idea, myself and my co-founder, that convenience stores are not so convenient and on-demand delivery service is not so on-demand. So we decided to do things a little differently. Instead of going to stores, picking up the goods and delivering the goods, we said we want to open up warehouses, store the inventory, and then deliver it to our end consumer, which at the time people thought were a little crazy, right? Why would you want to take inventory? Why would you want to take on all that risk? But we believe that that's the best path for the customer and that's the best path financially. So we started in Philly and, we worked our butts off. We were, Yakir and I literally living in the warehouse the first year, trying to pack all the orders as college students and expanded into something a lot greater than that. And it took years of preservation and years of hard work to kind of get there. We expanded from convenience store goods to diapers and baby food and pet food, over to counter medication, household essentials, ice cream, which is a fan favorite, and ultimately utilized all of our learnings to now be in 250 facilities all over the countries. We service 500 cities. We have millions of customers, just under 5,000 employees. But it really just started with Yakir and I with this crazy idea and saying, how do we make our own lives better? As a byproduct, make a lot of other lives better as well.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit in the beginning about being resourceful, right? And you went really fast about how fast your company grew, but I want to talk about in the beginning, right? It's really hard getting money for, like the idea you had. Yeah. So the idea you had will cost a lot of money. Where did you get the funding in the beginning?
Oh God, it's a great question, and the better question is where we didn't get the money. So we didn't raise, we didn't have any investors for our first 2 years of business. It was just Yakir and I, and we were doing all kinds of funky things to raise capital. First, we started buying phones on Craigslist and reselling them on eBay, and through that whole process, we made roughly $25,000, $30,000 on just every day buying 5 or 6 phones and reselling on eBay. We're finding businesses that were moving location and throwing away their old furniture. Hundreds and hundreds of cubicles. We would come in, we would take it, and we would resell it, and that made us tens of thousands of dollars. Anything to kind of help fuel and start the growth of the business, as you alluded to. It's expensive owning the inventory. It's expensive getting the warehousing in place, but we just wouldn't take no as an answer. We worked hard. We found every opportunity that was presented to us, and quite frankly, failed a lot. We were failing every day, but we were learning and adapting quickly. We were utilizing those failures to ultimately better ourselves and position ourselves as someone that can really get off the ground and start delivering for our customers. So those failures were really important. Really early on, it was really important to have those failures so we can, adapt and learn from them and be better versions of ourselves.
Right. And you raised about like $50,000 I read somewhere just by flipping furniture. So like for any aspiring entrepreneurs, you can do the same thing. You can go to garage sales, buy something and flip it. People do this all the time, and you can make quite a lot of money, as you just heard from Rafael.
Yeah, we were full-time students at Drexel University here in Philly. We had the idea when we were 19, and we had just turned 20 when we were just running around and doing whatever we can to make a buck and get our dream off the ground.
Right, that's amazing. So you talked a little bit about your co-founder, and starting a business is really, really, really hard, right? And doing it alone is probably even harder. You met Yakir at in a business 101 class at Drexel University. I also have a co-founder for my business as well, and he's also a Boys and Girls Clubs member himself. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of having a co-founder while starting a business?
I'm really glad you asked that question because I could tell you I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. Everyone needs help. No one on earth has done anything meaningful or anything worth it without the right help, whether it's a co-founder, great early employees, real partners. my advice that I could give about finding a co-founder and developing something, a lot of people think that you need the same personality. Actually, a difference in personality is really important because it kind of leads to diversity of thought. What needs to be really aligned are your internal values. If you see the world the same way, if you align and really understand that, hey, my values are aligned to your values, everything else just becomes a lot easier. The partnerships that I've seen not work, right, with other founders is, hey, their co-founder or their co-CEO or their technology partner is just not aligned internally from a values perspective. And, when your values aren't aligned, everything tends to fall apart. For Yakir and I, we were best friends before we started this business. We were already very close, and this business got us so much closer. And it's that internal value alignment that over the past 7 now going on 8 years has propelled us forward and allowed us to be really successful together.
Yeah, definitely. So, if you could travel back to day one of your startup and have 15 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you required with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartache, what would you tell yourself?
I would need a little bit more than 15 minutes, Anna. So many mistakes, so many learnings. And again, going back, like, mistakes are good because mistakes allow you to learn and allow you to become the better version of yourself. But if there's anything I would tell myself is the investment in people and the importance of bringing the right people and the right employees and partners early. Yakir and I waited way too long where we were really micromanaging everything and really wanted to own everything. And what we realized kind of a year, 2 years, 3 years in is there's a lot of other passionate people out there that are just as passionate about us, about the customer, just as passionate about what we want to do, and really have been able to accelerate our growth. So the advice I would give myself, early self, is like, find those people earlier. Find those people that are really, really excited as well and bring them on board. They'll help propel you and the business forward, and they'll be just as passionate for kind of the mission and the vision that you have for the organization as you are. And that will help really, really take you leaps and bounds ahead of where you are.
Right. And also we kind of talked a little bit about the importance of like failures and like starting and doing things and taking up opportunities, right? And I think a lot of tendency, what people tend to do is look at a lot of great companies like, Apple or Facebook, and we look at these entrepreneurs and we're like, we have to start something like that to be an entrepreneur, but you really don't. So my question is, what was your first business that you ever started, like as a kid?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first business ever was when I was 14 years old. I had this idea that there's community colleges, about a community colleges where I lived, and the field at which they had their sports teams on was naked, meaning that there was no advertising around the field. So I would find local businesses, pizzerias, bakeries, everything else, and would put up advertisements in the community colleges for $50, $100 for their local games. And I think at its peak, it got to like $4,000 or $5,000 a month, which is a lot for a 14 or 15-year-old to play around with. Ultimately, that business didn't work out. I don't think the community colleges appreciated too much on me hanging advertisements on on their fields. But it really gave me the thirst to keep moving forward. And honestly, I developed with my parents as well. My parents came here with nothing, and they worked their butts off, and I was always there with them. When my dad was starting a restaurant, I was a busboy and I was a waiter, and then ultimately I was managing people there. But it was ultimately my version of an entrepreneur then was helping build their dream, and I was working just as hard then as I was when I was starting my own business.
I gotta ask. A lot of people want to know, how many hours a week do you work?
The better question is, how many hours a week do I not work? I'm always on. I mean, early on, there's nothing worth it in this world that's easy, and I think people just give up too easily sometimes. They work at something for a couple months, 6 months, 9 months, and they're like, this is too hard, or it's not going anywhere, or nothing happened. You just mentioned Apple. People remember Steve Jobs as this visionary, which he is. He helped inspire a generation, but people forget that he was fired. People forget that he was removed from his own company, but he didn't give up. He didn't give up. He persevered, and then, ultimately inspired a generation. And I think, if nothing else, it's a testament, and it's a show of faith of how much hard work can get you. And I think, early on, we lived where we worked. We lived in the warehouse. So there was no separation between work and life, because we literally became obsessed with servicing the customer. We became obsessed with doing whatever we can to deliver a really, really amazing experience for our customers.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So what advice would you give to our audience today about becoming an entrepreneur?
You gotta do it. Like so many people say, the number one feedback I get from people, especially early on, when people ask, what is GoPuff? And I tell them what GoPuff is. They're like, well, I had that idea 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 3 months ago, whatever it is. And, my first response back to them, why don't you do it? Why don't you go out and put yourself out there and try? The worst thing that happens is that it doesn't work out, and you learn so much. You became such a better version of yourself. So a lot of people are just, they're scared of failure. They're scared of kind of getting outside of their comfort zone. And, comfort is the killer of success. It kills you. Your comfort zone is what kills all kind of innovation. And getting out of that comfort zone and trying and allowing yourself to fail will just position yourself for long-term success.
Yeah, and one thing we were talking about earlier with the other panelists is do it while you're afraid. You're always going to be afraid. Just do it, right? Ideas really do not matter as much as the execution. You have to be on the ground with your boots on the floor, actually doing the work. And that's what makes an entrepreneur.
That's right. And this is the age to do it. Like this is you have all your youth. And, I started this young, and whoever tells you, you're too young to start a company, let it come in one ear and out the other. This is your time to shine.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of time right now, and it's definitely a good time to do it. So my last question is, entrepreneurship is not easy, right? There are some entrepreneurs who sacrifice their health, sanity, and happiness in pursuit of a better life, right? A better version of themselves, as you're putting it. And the ones who are truly happy, however, they find a way to balance all their various assets of their life. So my last question is a very simple one. Are you happy, and what would you change?
I don't like the term of balance. I like work-life harmony, right? It's a mixture of, balance implies it's 50-50. There's a hard separation between what you work at and what happens at home. And, when you're creating something, you're truly creative, everything's integrated. When you're home at dinner, you're still receiving phone calls, you're still kind of always on. And, this is the happiest I've been in my life. I can't imagine doing anything else. I can't imagine, I'm just not the type of guy that after doing this can sit on a beach and just relax. This is where I feel most alive. So, I would venture to say anyone that created something, has built something, will tell you the same thing. This is where they feel the most alive. This is where they're most excited. There's nothing I would change. This is something that I love more than anything else. And, as a byproduct of that, it's allowed me to live a great life. Not always. Trust me. Early on, it wasn't the greatest life, and it was filled with a lot of negativity. But you got to persevere through it. You got to push through, and the light at the end of the tunnel is real bright.
Yeah, there's no greater joy certainly than building something and helping people at the same time and creating value for others. Well, Rafael, thank you so much for your time. I've certainly learned a lot from our conversation, and I hope everyone watching has as well. I wish you eternal luck with your future endeavors with GoPuff. So thank you very much.
Anna, great, and I have your bottle here. It's amazing. I've been enjoying it all day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I think the first virtual career day went pretty well. On behalf of the Workforce Readiness team, I want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, I want to thank Old Navy for your continued support of youth and teens and clubs. Club youth and staff, be sure to check out the This Way Ahead program for ways to get connected to Old Navy for career prep and job opportunities. Club staff, stay connected on all things workforce by visiting bgca.net/workforce. Again, thank you all very much.